I have an excellent connection. And hey, it's working. Okay. Hang on, let me put this in the Discord in case like random people want to watch while I'm doing it rather than watching it later. Because let's be honest, I don't think anybody's up right now, but you never know. It is the Obsidian community, so does it say who's online? Oh, people are apparently online, uh, so that's a thing. I'm new to this, so let's see. Where would I find stream URL? Hey, there we go. Oh, I don't think that that's my video though. I don't think it is. So while I'm setting this up, my name is Lithu, and I do CSS for Obsidian. Uh, well, not like for Obsidian and that I work for Obsidian. I do it for the program and that's where I apply my CSS. I do it as a hobby. I do not work there. Let's see, try this. And let's go to the YouTubes. And maybe not. Oh, hey, there's a share button. I'm answering these questions now because I'm tired and typing is hard. Sometimes. And then I paste this in here, I think. Hey there. I think it works. All right. So I have the help vault. This is Obsidian. Oh, hey, hang on. Let me switch that like that. So this question was asked by someone in the Discord. I'm not going to give names out because I haven't asked these people if it's okay. And, my, what is it, like single digits of followers. But hey, it is the internet, so I will be respectful. They wanted to know why this snippet is refusing to work, and that's what this is up here on the screen. Uh, they're using, notation color block snippet, but it just doesn't color. Okay, so I, I wanted to answer these questions. So there's that one. Uh, Another person is asking, let me copy it in and paste here. I think it'll work. How do I change the font of everything in Obsidian? That's a good question. And then maybe if I have time, I will explore this one. So someone is saying, hey, I've been trying to add to have relationship lines reach the top even when they are paragraphs. I still don't know how. So I will see if we can tackle that one. And I will make a comment. And we'll actually start there. So let me line return a few there. Huzzah. Important is evil. So I'll touch on important being evil first. Important is something you try to want to avoid doing CSS. And the reason I wanted to do this stream is to show you kind of my process of figuring things out. And my hope is that in watching kind of the process of what I'm doing, that it would teach and show kind of the process overall that when you come into a problem, you are prepared and you have some tools to help you kind of understand how CSS interacts with Obsidian and the more general philosophy and underlying principles of it at hand. Important is evil. So let's talk about important real quick. Important basically applies any given rule that it's in and has it take precedence. And the way that works, if I pull up the developer tools, and let's dock this on the side. Ooh, but not that side, because that's going to drive me nuts. Let's dock it on that side. There we go. Can I? There we go. That's where I want. So developer, this is the developer tools, Control Shift plus Shift plus the letter I, and that's on Windows. I believe it's Command Shift I on the Mac. Don't ask me what it is in Linux. I have no idea. That should be on the forums though. You should be able to look that up. So that'll open up this interface. It's usually docked by default. You can undock it up here. You have it on the bottom left, right side, or as its own window. And as you'll notice, the screen is flashing as I'm mousing over stuff. So if I hover over here, it says body. Well, it's going to highlight everything, and it's going to give you some information. So down in the lower left, you'll see it'll give you the resolution, which is 1907.33 by 1400. And then it'll tell you what it is, body.isFrameless.modWindows.themeDark. So that's how you could refer to it in CSS. Right. Down here, it'll show you, if you click on an element, let's go to something that is, yeah, we'll do this one right here. This is a perfect example for important. So this is so it's a div, class is title bar, style is height, 22 pixels, padding top, 0 pixels. Now you'll notice this is styled right in the HTML. And if you come down here, these are all of the style elements that impact that. So you'll see the element.style is height 22 pixels, padding top 0. And then next below this, you'll see app.css, which is anything from the default CSS built into Obsidian. And so position fixed, top 0, left 0, right 0, display flex, background color is the variable background modifier cover. We're doing border box, and as you can see, it is going to inherit all of these variables from theme dark because I'm on the dark theme. And user select is none, which is inherited from the body. And all of these you'll see are from the initial app because I have no custom CSS going. So if I go settings and I go appearances and I go to, we'll do CSS snippets, and let's just open this folder. And we'll create a new, uh-oh, my computer is thinking really hard and it's not responding. And here we go. Okay, so we're gonna do a new text document. That's bright and white. So we'll just do example one. Oh, that is not how you spell example though. Example one, and then instead of .txt, we're gonna do CSS. And it'll say, hey, this is gonna change the extension. Do you want to change it? And we wanna hit yes. And then I'm just going to right click that and open in VS Code. That's my editor of choice. You could totally do that in, if you're on Windows, you could have what? Notepad, WordPad. I would not recommend WordPad. Notepad is plain text. WordPad usually adds styling. Notepad++ is a great free software. You can do it in any of the paid services, like Sublime Text, I think, is a paid service. But VS Code is free. Atom is still free, I believe, but VS Code is nice. So in here, we can add whatever we want. And let's go back to, we can close this. And if we refresh this, well now, example one is there, so we'll enable that. So if I typed in something, So we're on title bar. So if I come in here and I say, hey, dot title bar, one word, right? Not hyphenated, yeah. And I say, hey, I want the background color to be blue. Actually, this blue violet looks cool. And then I say, hey, you know what? I want this to be height, and let's make it take up 50% of the screen. We'll save that. Now you'll notice we have a purple title bar, but it's not taking up 50% of the screen. And if we come over here to the right-hand side, we'll see why. So the way that CSS works is it works on two principles. One is importance is up, kind of above that. Then specificity and order. So specificity and order matter a lot. So if I go back in here, order is illustrated just in the order it's read. So if I have background color as blue violet, it will read that line and apply it. And then if I say, okay, background color now equals, what's something that's not crazy? This dark magenta, that is listed second. So that is the most recent source, and that is going to take precedence over the first one. And the Obsidian app will read the internal CSS first, then it will read a theme that's applied, if any. Then it will apply snippets. And the snippets are in alphabetical order. So if I have a background color in the default, which I should, and we should see it here. So background color, you'll notice down here, it's background color is this variable, background modifier dash cover, is crossed out. And it's saying, hey, this is there, but it doesn't apply because this background color up here takes precedence. And this one up here is crossed out, this purplish color, darker purple or lighter purple. Anyway, the magenta. This one's taking precedence because it comes after that. And these are in order of the way they're applied. So the ones higher up will take precedence if they have the same thing. So you'll notice here this height 50% is crossed out because up here there's a height 22 pixels. So if I have, this one is padding top 0 pixels. So if I try to put padding here or down here, or if it was in here by the app, it wouldn't apply because this is going to take specificity. So specificity is the thing that describes it the most accurate, right? So imagine if I'm talking about my house and I say, okay, I want you to paint all two-story houses blue. Well, that applies to my house because it's a two-story house. But it applies to a bunch of two-story houses. But if I say, okay, I want you to paint all of the two-story houses that are on, we'll say Main Street, and pretend that I live on Main Street, then, well, that's more specific than just all two-story houses or all houses on Main Street. So the more drilled down that you get, that will be more specific and will apply. So if I go back to my title bar here, so if you look down here, this is really hard to see, but there's the little asterisk right here, and it says asterisk, and it has scroll bar width, and it's crossed out scroll bar color. Well, that asterisk is essentially everything, so it's a wild card. So asterisk everything, and if I say, hey, background color equals, we'll say black, and save that. Well, it changed a bunch of things, but for this title bar, this title bar is more specific than just everything. Just pick everything. So if I wanted to get more specific than, say, title bar, if I come up here, I say, okay, the title bar is here. It's within the body, which has a class is frameless mod windows theme dark. So I could say, okay, well, let's put it above here. So I could do body, and then I could use this arrow saying, okay, and then the very next thing is going to be a div dot title bar, and I want that background color to be this aqua color, I guess. So even though these down here come after this one is more specific because I'm not just saying any title bar that you come across. I'm saying, no, the title bar that is the immediate child of the body. Now, in Obsidian, that's the only title bar. But if there were a title bar later, this title bar would apply, but this one up here wouldn't. And so the top one is more specific. Right? Now, the most specific that you can get, let's go back to my house painting example, is I want you to paint Lithu's house blue. Okay, well, that is the most specific because it only applies to Lithu's house. And you can do that with if you have like an ID number. So you'll see a couple of those in Obsidian. But in this here, so it says style height. This is basically saying apply this only to this specific section. So by calling it directly from the HTML, it is the most specific that you can get. And there is no way that you're going to override this because you can't get more specific. So in order to override this, this is really the only place that you're going to use the important because this is going to bump it above everything. So importance, basically what's gonna happen is CSS is going to read through everything that is important, is flagged with the important tag, and apply that first. And then after, and that's going to always take precedence above everything that is not marked as important. So it's like two separate sections. However, in those sections, it's kind of like two tiers. Within each tier, you then default to specificity and order. So if I go back here and I say, hey, this height 50%, well, let's tag that as important, spell it correctly, and save it. And now you'll see the title bar takes up 50% of the screen. The actual what you're seeing here is the inner section. So that's why it's not all that teal color. However, if I say have a background color or a height up here, and I say, hey, height is, we'll say 30%, and this one's also tagged as important, and it helps if you type words and spell them correctly. Well, now my title bar is only 30%. So these two are both tagged as important, so they're both in the important tier, but then they will fight against each other, and the one that has more specificity will win. Just as the same as if I put another line in here that said, height is equal to 50%, and then height equals 30%, both tagged as important, and this one wasn't here, then the one that's listed second would take precedence. So you shouldn't really need to use important. If you're trying to override something, find something and just be as specific as possible. And then if you have same specificity as, say, a theme, then by putting it in a snippet, you're also going to have it listed lower. And so you're going to be later in the order, and so it'll override. So that's a word on important. Very few things will need important because, I mean, you're changing the height of the title bar. Not really something that most users are going to want to do. It's kind of there as a set 22 pixels. You might, I have a theme that does that, but it's very few and far between are the use cases. Usually you're using one important in a specific area. So you should not have a bunch of important flags throughout a theme or a snippet, if at all possible. So that's on the important is evil. So let's look at, oh, hang on. And you'll notice now I can't click in here. This is now the title bar, so it's going to move things, and double clicking maximizes and minimizes things. So let's not do that and just delete all of this and save. And now I can type in here. So that's important as evil. So Control-Shift-I will get you there. Now let's look at this note background. So even without looking, the person said that they were using someone's CSS snippet. Look at my Discord here. Oh, it's one of Death AU's snippets. Okay, so if you were going to do this, let's look at and see how it shows up. So what we want to have is this is a blue note, this is not. So this area here, we want that to have what I would imagine is a blue background. But what I'll show you would apply to that anywhere. So what you can do is you can kind of drill down this. Okay, this is the app container, horizontal main. So we can click that into the workspace and on down and drill down. Or you can use this little guy up here, which is Control-Shift-C, as it tells you, and then you will be able to inspect stuff. So this is what we want. We want this not this text, but the actual block that it's in. So this is pre-language note blue background. So if we left click, it'll auto drill down in and tell us, hey, this is a pre-class equals language note blue background. So we can open up our code editor here. And I'm going to try to make this a little bigger. Can I just do, oh, I can, look at that. So let's make this really zoomed in. So this is a pre, which is an HTML way of signifying a section, and it's a class is equal to this language note blue background. So what we can do is, if I say pre dot language note blue background, and then grab myself a pair of curly brackets, or often called braces, this will tell me if I'm in VS Code, it has CSS formatting, which is nice. So it'll tell me, hey, this is a pre with the class of language note blue background. Oh, and there should be a D in there, not background. And then it'll tell me, hey, there's an error. In this case, don't use empty rule sets, which is good advice. We will add something here so it won't be empty. And so what we want, let's call it just background color, and we'll say blue. Okay, so let's save this. Now the person's question is, hey, I'm trying this, but it's not working. And sure enough, well, it's not blue. Why is it not blue? Well, let's take a look. So if I go here, I have element style, nothing called by the element. I have theme dark, not pre, code class language, theme dark, class equals language. And this one's taking precedence, and you can see down here, pre.language note blue is down here. So that's why it's not applying. Is something up here is taking precedence over it. So we have a background none that's also being overridden. And so we have this. Now, so there's a couple of things that you could do. You could, if this already describes what you're wanting, then you can just copy paste this into your snippet and change it. So if I did this and copy, and I'll show you what that looks like. So we could just paste this in. Let's, on this monitor, let's just make this big. So theme dark, not pre, followed by code. And if I mouse over this, so anything that is an element with class theme dark, followed by an element that is with the not keyword. We'll talk about that in a sec. And then the code with class language is taking precedence, which might seem weird to you because you're like, well, this isn't a code, this is a pre, right? Like that's the idea. This is pre. But then we have a code underneath it. So what we can do is we can say, well, we just need to be more specific with this one. Let's try that again. So we'll paste it down here. So what we want is we can look for things that would make it more specific. Well, this just isn't any pre that we have, right? It's inside a div here that's just a container div, so we don't need that. Well, this is in the Markdown preview sizer, which is then in turn inside the Markdown preview view. And it's like, okay, well, yeah, we do want this to apply to things that are in the Markdown preview. So let's grab that one. And I'm just going to copy this because I don't trust my ability to spell words correctly. So I'm just going to grab that and copy. So we can paste this in there. And so we have Markdown preview view. Oh, and we don't want this bracket though. And then if we add a space, what we're saying is there can be any elements in between. So this little dot, dot, dot between the element class Markdown preview. So it could be any element. That's what the red means. With the class Markdown preview view, and then the pre is inside of it with the class language note blue background. So if we save this, well, did that work? And it did. So now we're just by being a little bit more specific, it allowed us to, as you'll see here, if I highlight this, now this is more specific. And what you can do is let's copy this. And let's just have this code as like, I don't know, Markdown. And let's paste another one that's just regular code. Okay, so if I highlight down here, this is theme dark, by the way. So if you change to light theme, we should still be okay. Let's try that out. You always want to test stuff. And sure enough, sorry for the white screen, this is blue. Right? And so you might think, but this text is like kind of washing out because it's lighter text. Whereas in the dark theme, it's a white text, and it's better, right? So you could then say, all right, well, in here, you could say, okay, well, dot theme dark, I want it to be blue, and then we'll just copy and paste this whole thing. But if it's theme light, I want the background to be blue, and I want the color to be, well, it's called Alice Blue, I guess, something like that. Now, what we want, oh, my code broke. I need a space. So this is saying inside anything with the class theme dark, any number of layers down, you'll then come across to a Markdown preview view, and then any number of layers down, you'll have this. So now, save that, and we should have blue. And then if we switch to theme dark, this will be this blue color. But let's say we don't want that in the light theme, that doesn't work. So what we'll do is we'll say, let's make it a light blue and save that. And so now, if I switch this from light to dark, you'll see it changing there in the background. So in the light, it's a light blue, and the dark, it's a dark blue. just like that. So if you are finding a rule that doesn't apply, try to increase its specificity. Now you can in most cases just add one layer or two layers of specificity and it'll generally work with Obsidian. Uh, just think about where you want it to apply and where you don't want it to apply. So in this case, this is going to be in the preview section, right? If you're in preview, because if you're in edit mode, it's not there, right? Only in preview. Okay, well then add that in. If you want it to be in, add in kind of some of your core elements. So say body theme dark, right? Which is what we did, right? We said it could be any element, but your theme dark and theme light are in your body. So you could increase your specificity by saying, oh no, only the body theme dark, uh, when the body has the class theme dark, and so on. And if you uh, and you still can't get it because you can't increase the specificity, look where it is on here. Because if I forgot the space, let me do this and save. It's not applying, but if I look over here, you'll notice I don't have my code showing up. So if you're not specific enough, it'll show up here, but it'll be crossed out. But if you're not calling the right thing, in this case because of a syntax error, then it won't even show up. And you can go, oh, well, let me figure out why it's not showing up. And in this case, it's because of missing a space. So what it was doing is saying it's looking for an element that has the class theme dark and the class markdown preview view. Well, that's never going to happen in Obsidian because the theme dark is always in the body and the markdown preview view is its own div later on down that will never have the theme dark class. So it's an impossible object that won't occur in Obsidian. But if you space, it's saying, hey, one, which is the child of another with any number of generations in between. So that's how you fix that. And so you'll notice if I do the other thing you can do if you look at this. So if I hover over my mouse over this is theme dark pre-class equals language. You'll notice that it's going to hover over and highlight two elements. And this is really helpful. So what it's saying is, if you change this, those two elements are affected. And you'll notice that the third one is not. And you can go, oh, well, why is that? And if you'll notice, this is calling a language markdown. This is calling language note blue background. While this one has no language at all. There's nothing up here on the right side. Can I zoom in? I can. Sweet. This is probably easier for me to show. There we go. So you're not. I imagine you're trying to squint at your screen. So this is a language when you put it in here. So you can say, hey, I'm writing a code block and I want it, Python. And then what it'll do is if you do, let's see how good my Python is. Something like, is it print? Hello world. And you'll notice over here, it's going to color code the syntax as if you were typing in VS Code and you had your conditional syntax highlighting on. And you're telling this, hey, use Python as your language. So if you were doing like an HTML block, then you had like head, body, class equals theme dark. Well, now it's gonna color code that based on HTML. And if you go to it, if I highlight this, so language hyphen HTML is how Obsidian is going to render that. And so I could say, hey, any HTML I want, I don't know, like the background to be a different color, or I want to move it somewhere, or I want to make it bigger, or I want to set a max size. Well, then that's how you would call it. The language thing, though, if I create a block in here, If I have something where I'm not defining a language, I'm just saying, hey, this is random code, and I'm not listing a language, it's just going to color it this way. And so if I highlight over this and say, hey, this, where I'm calling class equals language dot, and this is hard to see. Let me copy this into VS Code, this selector, so we can blow it up and show it in bigger letters. So this is saying, hey, we're in theme dark. Oh, that didn't copy. I'm like, that looks like my error. Where did we go? Theme dark code class equals language. And there's actually two elements here. So anytime you have something separated by a comma, it's a either or. The developer tools can be somewhat finicky with copy and paste, so let's try that. Hey, there we go. Let's make this big again. Oh, and it dropped the period. So this is saying theme dark, so anything with theme dark, and then under that code where your class is, and then this asterisk equals language hyphen. So what that's saying is that it contains. And you'll see right here above the mouse over this dot 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 language hyphen dot dot dot, which means that it can be anywhere. It can start with it, end with it, in the middle. You can use these are called regular expressions. So like I think it's $ equals is ends with. So you'll notice there's no dot dot at the end, so it has to end with language hyphen. Not going to happen. I think it's caret begins with. Hey, I guessed right. I remembered correctly, I should say. So this is going to be starts with language. So you can see that. So this is saying, hey, anything that's a code block that has the class that contains language hyphen, or any theme dark with the class that contains a pre that has the same class containing that is what you want to do. So we'll delete that. So if I hover my mouse over that, it's saying, okay, these are the things that will be affected by that. And it's the notes where I have any language defined, because the one will say language hyphen HTML, the other one will say language hyphen markdown, the other one will say language hyphen note hyphen blue hyphen background. So it'll grab all of them. Where this one, where I don't define one, it does not. So, and I minimized too many things. Okay. Next question. How do I change the font of everything in Obsidian? The font of everything in Obsidian. Okay, so Obsidian CSS is designed with what we call variables. And the best way to think of a variable, if you're not familiar with CSS or just any like object-oriented programming. One sec, I'm going to take a sip of tea. Delicious tea. So a variable, think of it like a box. And you put something inside the box, and then later you can say, hey, go to that box, and whatever's inside of that box, do something with it. So if I define a variable in CSS, it looks something like this. So you'll see someone write like theme dark, and then you'll see 2 dots, and we'll say my variable colon, and you can put anything in here that you would then want to call. So let's say this is something random, 25%. We'll just say 25%. Or you know what, let's just do like 10 pixels. 10 pixels. So now what I can do is then later in my code, I can say, oh, hey, this blue background, let's say we want a margin left. I can say, hey, margin left is going to equal, and instead of typing 10 pixels and having me write 10 pixels in a bunch of different places, I can just refer back to that variable. I can say, and VS Code will autocomplete, but you'll have VAR for variable and then my variable. And you'll see that right here in this thing we copied and pasted. Well, now the margin left, if I save this, my blue note, the one that's actually a blue note, you'll see it's shifted over by about 10 pixels. And so then if, let's say you did that 10 pixels and you shifted a bunch of things over to the left 10 pixels and you go, you know what? I don't want 10 pixels. I actually want 12. Well, now you don't have to go find every instance of where you wrote that in there. You can just come up to the variable and say, oh, I want that to be 12 pixels, or, say 120 pixels for exaggeration effect. Well, now it's over 120 pixels. And so that's how variables work. You'll see in the developer code over here, I don't think, I can zoom that in. Let's zoom that in. That'll make things easier. And actually, let's undock it so we can make it, well, not quite that big, maybe. Oh, I bet that's easier to see. Look at that. Okay, so if I go to anything in here, we'll just pick something at random. So this is the Markdown preview sizer. So it's got some specific items, and then if you scroll down here, it's going to inherit things from its parent, and we can talk about inheriting things, which is basically anytime you have something more general and something inside of it is a child, it'll inherit from that. So you'll see here, theme dark is something declared, and then these are all of the variables that it inherits. So you could use these because they're inside the body, which is essentially everything. That's why you usually define them there, is in your theme. And so these are your colors. And so you have background modifiers, scroll bar, mix blend mode, interactive normal, and most of these are colors. These are either hex codes in like that, or they're RGB codes like that. And so fonts are also the same. And if I scroll down enough, I will come across root. So root is going to be everything. So let me go to Obsidian and use a diagram with an ordered list. So I have the root. Now the root will contain everything. And then within the root, you have the body. And the body can be themed light or dark. So you have light, or you're going to have body, again, spelling words correctly, dark. And then inside here, you're going to have the title bar and the workspace. And then inside the workspace, you're going to have like the left bar, and you're going to have like the right bar. And these aren't exactly specific, but it gives you the idea because they're not called that. Title bar is, only it's one word. So if I define a variable here at root, well, then it's going to be available to call anywhere beyond that. If I define a variable in the left bar area, let's say, well, then I can't use it in the right bar or anything above it or anything later on or anything else, anywhere else. It's limited to that area, and we call that scope in the programming world. So that's usually why things are defined in root if they're going to apply to both light and dark themes. But you'll notice if I define something and I want it to behave differently between light and dark, such as the background color, mainly colors, right? Then I'm going to define one set in the theme light and one set in the theme dark. So font, however, shouldn't change. And so instead of defining it the same in both light and dark, and that just doubles your code and bogs down the system, you're just going to define it once in the root. And so that's going to, if I open my tools, it's going to look like this. And I can copy and paste this directly into here. And let's get rid of all of this and say boom. And so it's going to define the variable default font, mermaid font, reveal font, and font monospace. And then it's going to tell you what they specifically are. And these are in order of application. So what it's going to try to do is it's going to try to apply Inter, and then it's going to try to apply Apple System, then Blink Max System Font, then Sego UI, and on down the list until you get to the very last, and it's just going to have a generic, hey, if you can't load any of these, which is going to be pretty rare, but it is a good failsafe to have, then load whatever sans serif font you have. And then here for monospace, it's saying, hey, load source code pro, but if you can't, just load monospace, any monospace font you have. And then the mermaid font and the reveal font are currently listed as, they just refer back to the default font. So if you change this, it changes that. So it's not a lot. Everything's pretty much the same font in Obsidian, except for, you'll notice the code blocks are monospace, where each letter has the same width. So everywhere else is just a regular sans serif font. So if you wanted to define something different, then you would just come up here. We'll have a CSS snippet, and we'll say, hey, I want my default font to be something different. Let's say, let's pick a font. Can it do Wingdings? Let's try Wingdings, if it'll work. And then if not, we'll go with Helvetica. Semicolon at the end of the line is very important. And let's save that. Oh, not that. Let's go here. It works. Wingdings worked. So now your font is in Wingdings, except for your code blocks, which are in monospace, of course. So and you'll notice it is everywhere, right? Your title bar, your of the program, your title bar here of your note and all your text, your word count and everything down at the bottom. If you go into your settings menu, there you go. Wingdings. And the X button is actually like the letter X, so it's a left arrow. That's great. So let's take out Wingdings for a second and do something more ridiculous. Helvetica. And well, now everything's in Helvetica. And if you actually, you know what? Let's go back. Control Z and let's go back to Wingdings for a second. And let's go over here. And so what you'll see is that the app CSS has put this in here, but then in my style, in my CSS, I've set this to Wingdings. And that's going to take precedent over anything else. And so when it's called, so if I go down to something where it's called, say the title bar. So here's the title bar. Inside there, I will have title bar text, where it actually displays the name of your vault and the version of Obsidian is title bar text. And you'll see the color is this variable, and it should have a font listed. Position, flex grow, font size. Is it just inheriting everything from the body or from the root? Here we go. So in the body, it declares font family for everything, default font. So let's do something fun. So let me go back to here and get rid of Wingdings so that we can see what we're doing in Obsidian. So if you define a variable one place, it's going to apply and cascade down to the children. So here in the default, we've said font family is equal to variable default font. And so if I go to my example where I have this. So if I define something at the body level, um, and this is saying body without a theme, so it would apply to both of these. And I'm saying, hey, this is the default font. Well, this will then inherit down, and I don't have to say, okay, the title bar, I also want that, and the workspace, and the left, and this paragraph element, and the H1 and the H2 headings, and on down the list. They just inherit it. So unless I have something specific and say, oh, no, actually, H1, heading 1, I want to be Times New Roman. Well, then it won't inherit. Inherited is like the least specificity, if you remember our conversation about specificity. So uh, it will just trickle on down and cascade. Uh, but if you declare it for, say, heading 1, well, then that's more specific than its inherited value. But it keeps you from having to define, okay, this is also this font and this color. It allows you to say, make everything black, and then anything I don't want black, then I will tell you, and it allows you to cascade down. But to change fonts, that's how you do it. It's just put that in a snippet. I would always encourage you, though, to just like the default has, is to have a backup of serif, sans serif, or monospace, to where if it can't load your font for whatever reason, then you can still display your text. Because if I put in here the default font as Bob's font, and I save that, it's going to default back. Let's see, where's root? Theme dark, body, root, here it is. So it's going to say Bob's font, and it looks like the devs of Obsidian have coded in a fail-safe fallback font to whatever this is. It looks like a serif font. Yeah, it looks like just a basic serif font. I am not good enough with fonts to tell you what font that is. So unless you want it defaulting to something random, I would always put in what you're going to have it as your fallback. Is it Times? It does look like Times, doesn't it? Yeah, that's usually the default serif font. So next question. I've been trying to have the relationship lines reach the top even when they are in paragraphs. Still don't know how. So this is a little bit more interesting, and it is going to be a little bit more of a deep dive. Up until now, we're still at the basic kind of CSS items, but I always like some sort of tinkering around with things. So let's try to do that. So relationship lines, and actually let's do this. Let's do themes. One of these has relationship lines. And I'm gonna just look through here. So that way we can just start from there. Because I know several of them have it built in. Here we go. Blue Topaz has it. So these lines here is what the person's referring to. So let's just use that. Oh, and I have to wait for these to go away because I'm super zoomed in. So we'll use this. And then if I go open themes folder, we can open that with code. So the relationship lines, if I have, say, a folder, it's going to have this line here. And it's also got these like kind of boxy things around that. And then you'll notice here, so the relationship lines go down. And the person is saying, if I have a paragraph, so I'm assuming like something like this. Well, it does reach the top. I don't have folding on. Let me turn folding on. That's in editor, I believe. Fold headings, fold indent. Yes. So now you can maybe line wrap, show the line numbers. Oh, there we go. Little arrows there. So the idea is that you have these, and you can do the same over here. I'm trying to, let me read the Discord message and see if it's if they're referring to edit or preview mode, because that'll depend on where we're going to go. I see what they're saying. Okay. So this theme will. So what they're saying is the relationship line they want in preview mode. So let's pick a different theme then. This theme does it differently. Appearance, and we'll find. Well, you know what? Let's just do it from scratch with a snippet. So basically what you're wanting to do, oh, actually, this would be a perfect time to plug Klaus's stuff. So if you go to the forums, let me do this and that. Huzzah! So this is on the Obsidian forums, and it's called How to Achieve CSS Code Snippets. And Klaus has done a great job of collating and curating a bunch of CSS snippets. And there's a link to a GitHub link somewhere where he's got it all on a GitHub link. I believe it's this one. So this is the GitHub link and snippets. And oh, that's cool. They're all in their own thing now instead of one big markdown. I like that change. Makes things easier. HTML headers, lines horizontal. That's not what we want. Lists. Reduce indentation, long bullet list. Edit mode. Stylized list. Auto adjust width and auto counter. Maybe not. There was one in here. Tag pill, status bar, sidebar, settings, search, scroll bar, ribbon. You call it relationship lines, right? Well, this is horizontal. So I don't think it's going to be in there. Nope. Huh, that's weird. Nothing that a good old we go. Thanks for posting this code directly in the Discord. If you're not on the Discord, I highly encourage it. So a quick copy and paste. Let's save that and see if it's given us what we want. Okay, so this will add relationship lines. And what he's saying is, I've been trying to have it reach the top even when they are paragraphs. So the idea is to have this relationship go all the way up when you have a paragraph. So if it's only one line, I don't know if I can get it that long. Delete that. Oh, well, can't delete it there. Silly. There we go. So if it's one line, it comes up to the bullet point, but if it wraps, this returns. So let's dive into the CSS and look what we're doing here. So we have, let's see, nav folder, children. Oh, so nav folders are in the Explorer tab. So we're looking for bullet point relationship lines. So we're saying unordered list. Anytime you have an unordered list that is a child of another unordered list item, we're going to, before, with a left -11 pixel position, top 0 and bottom 0. Did I copy the whole thing? I sure did. Okay, and then, oh, here we go. Unordered list, position relative, and before, okay, and we're adding a border left. So that's what we're doing. Okay, so if you go here and let's do our developer tools slightly smaller so we can kind of see what we're doing. Like that. Kind of build this over. Do that. So we have an unordered list, which means that these are not numbers, they're just bullet points. Anytime I have that, and then you have list item, and then you have this collapse indicator, which is default, and then this paragraph item, and then an unordered list, which has a before. I see what they're doing. So they're basically saying, hey, this section, we're going to add a before item, and it's going to be 1 pixel by, you can see that, 1 pixel by 142 pixels, and it's going to have a border left. So you can see a left border. There's no content here. I don't know that I'd do it that way. Let me think, how would I do this? Because I would want the border based on the parent, not the child. At least that's my thought process. Yeah, let's try that. Okay. So let's just delete this. So this should be even. So if I look at my developer tools, you get to see this real time. It's fun. And if you're bored, sorry. So you'll see different colors here as I hover over this. So content, and actually let me just click on this. So the margin, which is outside of things, is in orange. The border is this kind of yellowish color. Padding, which is inside the border, is green, and then the content is blue. So I have this content, and then padding on the left, and then a border and then the margin, which is -42. Now, how is it getting that? Is that all app? Because I don't have any theme, right? This is just the generic default stuff in there. Yeah? Yeah. Margin left. Yeah. Okay. So if I grab this, so let's take any, and so if I hover over this, you'll see it's grabbing all of these collapse indicators. And does it grab it if it's the other way? It sure does. So if I go back to my thing, so yep, inside my preview view, I want my collapse indicators. And you know what? I'm just going to add a border left of 1 pixel. Let's call it red, so it's visible, and we'll do a dotted line. Oh, and we do need a closing thing. So now I have this. Now the problem is I want it to go to the end of it. So let's look at my developer tools. So this is the list item there. So the collapse indicator is below it. So I want this. So this is a list item. So I want in my markdown preview view, because that's where we're dealing with, and I want list item. And let's mouse over this. So markdown preview view, and I have a list item. Okay. What should do that? So let's just do a background color is blue. Save that, and that will color all of those things. And if I go here, it will tag all of those items. Okay. Some of this is going to be trial and error. But then what I want to do is I want to say, okay, let's add a before element. And content is just going to be empty. And border left, border hyphen left is going to be 1 pixel. And we will make this one green so we can see the difference, and dotted. So interesting. So if I go here, let's make this height equals 100%. Fascinating. Now, why would it do that? You get a join in my confusion. So it's listed inside there. And then this is the text. Oh. Well, let's just do that. So let's do Is that how that's gonna? Well, that might be the way to do it then. Let's try that. Where's my collapse indicator? What happens if I 100% that height? What's the position here? Margin left, display inline block, float left. I think it's how it's wrapping the text as a paragraph. And that's why it's trying to do it that way. Well now, actually, you could do it that way. Ooh, that might be the way to do it. Okay. So let's do, we don't need this. And let's do text. So let's save that. So here's what I'm thinking. So this green text is mostly where we want it. This green LED, this green dotted line, this border. But it's not going all the way down now, is it? Which is odd. Let's look at, let's make this just solid border. Oh, I see what it's doing. That's interesting. So the actual item display as a list item is, because it's displaying as a list item, its border is going to be defined that way. What if I did, and then I have unordered list item? What's the border look like on this one? It is getting late and my brain is not working the way it should right now. You get tired, Lithu. We have Lithu at home. Lithu at home. Okay, so if I do this and then so it's not the list item, but the actual UL items, right? Where's my Obsidian? There it is. So let's try that. That's the before. I just need to position them. So they don't take up space. So relative they'll still take up space. You want absolute. And okay. Whoops. Apparently it doesn't like going just left screen. There we go. Top 0. Well, pixels. Bottom 0 pixels. Oh, height, it should not be 100%. Let's comment that out. So they're there. Now we just need to make them. So yeah, I just need to do a left, not top. Like I said, tired Caleb. All right. Left. And now they should be over here. Yeah. So maybe that's the ticket. Let me think. So if I go here, this is the item that I want to have left bordered. And basically what I want to do is I want to, if I click on this, so like this padding area, I want to move a little bit so that it's a little bit further to the left so that the padding goes like right through the center of this area. And then if I have a border left, it would follow on the line exactly where I need it to be. However, it has this display block. User select test, padding width. Display list item. Oh, hey, I got to show you something cool. So let's go to here. One of the things that is a helpful resource is w3schools.com, which is a CSS. They got JavaScript and everything else. So if I go CSS and I search for display, So any property, you can look up what it is, and then it'll show you all of the values and what they do. And I'm looking for, what is it, list item? Yeah. So list item lets the element behave like an li element. So if I change that, go to my thing here. So let's do markdown preview view. And then list item. And let's do a display inline. What does that do? Wait, let me pull this over so I can see what I'm doing. Bar, body. Oh, I see what it's doing. It's not doing a thing. Inline block. No, that's not what I want, because I want starts on a new line and takes up the whole width. That's what I want, which is just block, right? Okay, but then collapse indicator, and then text, then unordered list. We'll ignore the before for a moment. Then li, what? Collapse indicator. Yep. And then unordered list. So title bar doesn't have a thing, but that's how we want it, right? Body, title bar, workspace, left bar. Yeah. That's how we want it. Okay. So we just need to change our display type. So then let's start up here at the top. Unordered list. No, that's not the top. Unordered list. Okay, so we don't want the border there. I zoomed in too far. Let's zoom out just a little bit. There we go. So we don't want this. So unordered list, I want the padding to be not as much, because the indicator is, if I scroll down to the bottom here, is -42. And where did I go? There we go. And then the list item is right there. So I want a little bit of padding and a border on the left. Okay. So if I go to my list item, display block, so let's do a border 1 pixel in red, dotted. Should go all the way around, and turtle's all the way down there, which looks good. Except I want padding left of, we'll say 10 pixels. So we move that over. And we'll just need to move the arrows a little bit down. Well, because I want to move it back. I guess I do need a before item. So let's do li before content. We don't need that. Move it left. And then move it down. Oh, what was it? 27 pixels? And then move it a little bit further down. What is that? 15 pixels? Getting the, you might have to do percentages when you figure this out. 31. So you'd move something down like that. But I don't know if that's gonna, if you got them to overlap perfectly, it might work. One border, green dotted. Let's make this only left. It's getting cluttered. Well, I guess you could do that, right? So let's comment this out for a second. Border left, 1 pixel, red dotted, padding left, 10 pixels. So you could mask it. Let me add. Does this work with ordered list? 1, 2, 3. Then put this up here. And just nest this. Nah, you can't go negative padding. You could then mask that. You could also do border image and make it only in certain sections. The workspace. So if I go here, so this is an ordered list, and then list item. Yeah, yeah. Because ideally, you just want the list item itself. Yeah, so you just add a margin, say top of like 2 pixels to break it up. And then let's make this solid. So you can see the breaks. It's not the best. That is true. I think you might have to live with just this for the moment. That's way better looking. I'll be honest. It's way better looking. Although the ordered lists don't have that on there. And I think you can change that by adding oh, it doesn't do first level. Oh, and it's doing something weird there. Is that because I did something? Let's just reload Obsidian. I think I did something weird. Oh, I got rid of my stuff. Oh, no, I didn't. Okay, we're good. Whew. Yeah, I don't know what it's doing over here. I'll play around with it some more. But hopefully you've got an insight into, just the craziness of trying to figure out a problem. Because normally you would just go in and adjust the HTML to be whatever you want, and then you'd be done. But it's not always, you can't do that with Obsidian. And even if you could, you'd mess it up for everybody else. So there's that. Yeah. So if you took out that, so it's saying to unordered lists to position them relative, and then before add content with a pixel, one border. And then moving them, which you could just move that all into one area. There you go. Clean that up for you. But you'd have to do the same for the first level of content. Where are we at here? View content, preview sizer, find the div that we're in. We're in this div. and I have an ordered list, and I have list items. And this is calling unordered list, unordered list. Oh, that's why. So if I did this as just a hyphen, it would have the relationship lines. Okay, so I can tell you how to fix that. So you want oh, is there a better way to do that? So you do unordered list, and then you do unordered list, ordered list, ordered list, ordered list, or ordered list, unordered list. And then doing, copy that, paste that. That did not have the expected result. Why not? What did I type in here wrong? Okay. Oh, I'm dumb. I know what I did. Whoops. Redo. There we go. So the before only applies to this item at the moment, so I need a before on each one of these. And now it doesn't matter if you have like any combination of numbered and unnumbered. It'll do the lines. My immediate recommendation would be just not to have items that are that long, that are not more than a line long. I know that's like not the best advice, but well, I'm gonna get some sleep, and if I come up with anything else, I will let you know. Also, if you have any other questions, this is kind of, like I said, more advanced tinkering stuff. But if you have questions about why something isn't working the way you think it is, or something like that, we'll do that. In the meantime, feel free to ask a question on Discord, on the forums. The next video I'm going to do, which is what's today, Wednesday. Tomorrow is Thursday, because that's how days of the week work. I know I'm brilliant, I tell you. Probably tomorrow, if not Friday night, I will do a video on the colored folders and how to do it, because it's a little bit slightly different. I've had a few people asking me for my CSS on that. So I will do a video explaining how that works and answer any other questions I see in Discord. I'll save them up and go over them. Hopefully when I'm a little less tired and a little less rambly, if that is a word. So until then, this is Lithu, and have fun with CSS and Obsidian, and don't ramble as much as I do.